A human trafficking ring kidnaps the daughter of one of the world's most renowned fighters. The desperate man decides to seek out a retired ex-agent who committed grave errors in the past. The organization is dangerous, has reach within the government, and operates with impunity, placing everyone on a countdown. We meet Samson Gall entering a nightclub. He isn't looking for fun, but for clues regarding those present with the coldness of a hunter. He asks for services, assesses the terrain, and sits across from the ringleader, who smiles confidently. Samson places a wad of cash on the table and requests the purchase of a specific slave, a boy named Victor, which catches the leader off guard for a moment. The leader accepts the payment and considers the transaction concluded. Suddenly, Samson slams the table and straightens up like a coiled spring. He unsheathes a knife and launches into action, attacking the ring's men without giving them a moment's respite. He advances through narrow hallways, avoids cameras, and closes doors behind him. He finds the boy and calms him in a low voice. He assures him he is a sheriff and that his mother asked him to bring him home. The boy nods, trembling, and follows him down poorly lit corridors. Together they descend to the basement, where a motorcycle awaits, ready for the getaway. The roar of the engine cuts the silence, and the escape begins under crossfire. A convoy of armed men sets off in pursuit. Samson takes a curve and activates a remote control inside his glove. Several bombs placed on cars and at strategic points detonate with precision, sending up walls of fire that block the routes. The pursuers are consumed by the flames, and the escape path is cleared by the blasts. However, the success has a crack that shatters everything. Amidst the smoke, other slaves who remained captive die from the shockwave and asphyxiation. At dawn, Samson is called to the scene by his superior. Inspector Vitkun confronts him among black body bags and faces that will never wake up. He shows him the bodies of 2 children who died suffocated by the smoke from the fire. Vitkun accuses him of being irresponsible, demands he stop getting involved, and orders him to hand over the badge he still keeps. Several years pass. Samson works in a butcher shop. He cuts meat with the same steady hand that once handled weapons. He leads a quiet life, but memories of the children visit him in the silences of closing time. Occasionally, his gaze stares into the void, as if every cut opened an old wound. Meanwhile, a family lands at the airport in Moldova. Andrew Faden walks with his daughter Becky and his wife Monica, amidst suitcases and brief laughter from the trip. Andrew lifts his phone and takes photos of Becky without realizing that a strange woman is also capturing her with her camera. Destiny intersects with a stolen photo. At the hotel, the family watches TV with the fatigue of a long day. Becky goes out to the balcony, looking for a better signal, and encounters Amalia, a woman who mentions that the internet is poor there and that the connection is better at the reception. Becky trusts her, goes down to the lobby, and disappears into the bustle. That decision opens a fissure through which everything collapses. Minutes later, Andrew asks for his daughter and gets no answer. He searches floor by floor, screams her name, and looks at the elevators in desperation. Monica comes out of the bathroom, knowing nothing, and the anxiety mounts. They run through hallways, check cameras, and there is no trace of Becky. With no alternatives, they turn to the media. The news announces the disappearance of Becky Faden and shakes the country. The Moldovan police mobilize resources and patrols, pressured by the weight of the fighter's fame. Despite the noise and the sirens, the girl does not appear, and the anguish rises like a tide. That night, Samson finishes a long day at the butcher shop and sits in front of the TV. He sees Becky's face on the screen and hears a father begging for help. A couple of days later, Becky's parents enter the butcher shop. They say a man sent them and that only he can locate her. They offer him money and beg him to accept, but Samson shakes his head. He repeats that he does not want to return to that world which tolerates no more errors, and the silence between the three becomes harsh. Monica, a former police officer, notices his back and recognizes a discreet tattoo. She knows that symbol belongs to a secret police organization and understands what it implies. She asks him as a mother to help them find Becky, but the man, sunken in the guilt of the children who died by his hand, refuses. The door closes with a weight that shuts the street out. At nightfall, his son Selwyn visits him. He tells him that it was he who sent Becky's parents, that he works for the embassy, and that the laws do not allow them to act against the trafficking mafia with the necessary force. He begs him to intervene, but Samson maintains his refusal through gritted teeth. The son leaves, determined to act on his own. Andrew asks around in various places and arrives at a nightclub. He shows Becky's photo and seeks quick answers. A man looks at him with contempt and mocks him, saying he was a bad father for not paying attention. The provocation ignites him, and a fight breaks out. The group responds with violence and outnumbers him. Selwyn falls, gets kicked, and covers himself as best he can. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the noise is cut for a second that seems eternal. A masked man enters from the shadows and disarms the aggressors with precise movements. It is Samson, who had been following him the whole time. He drags him out of the place, supports him all the way to the butcher shop, and patches him up enough to endure. He tells him he will accept the case on one condition, that he speaks to the police and that no one interferes with his investigation. The decision sets a machine in motion that will not stop. That same night, Samson disguises himself as a messenger and arrives at a businessman's house. He takes out the guard, slips past the focus, and crosses hallways as if he had known them before. He enters the security room, neutralizes the operator, and shuts down enough systems to clear a path. His target is Bogdanov, and his route allows for no detours. He finds the businessman asleep and tapes him to the bed. He wakes him up and forces him to look him in the eyes. He interrogates him methodically, without shouting, with calculated cuts to the stomach that extract confessions. Bogdanov, between gasps, admits his link to the ring and his participation in the operation. Samson demands the girl's whereabouts, and the man, broken by pain, gives an address. The ex-agent leaves silently, leaving the businessman with ragged breathing. As soon as he is alone, Bogdanov picks up the phone and calls a low-ranking hitman. It is Vlad, an executioner without hesitation. He orders him to kill Samson, and while he's at it, eliminate the girl. The instruction travels fast, and the trigger is prepped. Vlad crosses paths with Amalia and another person on the road. He asks no questions, draws his weapon, and shoots to erase witnesses. Then he enters a warehouse, pours gasoline over Becky, who is tied up and trembling, and threatens her with a pistol. The next morning, authorities find a charred body in a warehouse. It wears the same bracelet as Becky, and the identification is rushed. Samson observes closely and requests a DNA analysis to verify. Doubt hangs suspended like a fine thread about to snap. In the lab, the doctor confirms the samples are Becky's. Andrew is devastated. Monica breaks down in tears and looks at Samson with fury. She blames him for causing this outcome. She raises her hand and slaps him. The couple decides to check out of the hotel and leave the city, wanting to hear nothing more. That night, Samson drinks to silence the storm inside. The door bursts open. Bogdanov and his thugs enter, taking advantage of his state. They beat him, throw him against the counter, and attempt to finish the job. Father and son take cover, fight back, and tip the scales with clean strikes. Bogdanov falls mortally wounded, and his threat is extinguished instantly. A messy room remains, along with a question stuck in Samson's head. Minutes later, Samson reviews memories he hasn't let go of and notices a critical detail. Becky's bracelet was on her right hand, not the left like the corpse. Doubt turns into suspicion, and suspicion into movement. They must talk to the parents before they leave. They race to the airport and catch up to Andrew and Monica. They don't want to listen, but Samson explains that their daughter could still be alive. He points out that the DNA doctor could have been bribed by the ringleader and that it is all part of a cover-up. The spark of hope hurts, but it opens a path. That same night, they capture the doctor and take him to the butcher shop. They hang him by his arms, interrogate him, and let fear do its work. Andrew and Monica participate without trembling, and the man confesses he manipulated the DNA results. He says the one responsible is Stellu, the Deputy Minister of Defense and the real owner of the mafia. Stellu watches the sunset from a high place, calm. When he receives a call, he is informed about the manipulation and the leak. He orders Vlad to eliminate everyone who puts the business at risk with the coldness of someone who believes they are out of reach. Samson moves Becky's parents to a safe location. He prepares weapons, ammunition, and escape routes he has tested before. Becky is still alive, held prisoner along with other girls on the outskirts. When the guards lower their guard, the girl takes out a phone and calls her father. Andrew tracks the location quickly, his heart in his throat. He doesn't know that Vlad has anticipated that call and set a trap around it. The parents call Samson. He warns them not to go, that it is a sure ambush. Driven by need, they disobey and drive to the site. Upon arrival, they trick a guard, lure him in, silence him, and enter to search for their daughter. Within minutes, they see a man with Becky tied up, ready to be rescued. They take a step and the walls respond with crossfire. It is a scene staged by Vlad. At that instant, Samson appears in the distance and opens fire with a rifle. His shots break the ambush and take down the attackers who peek out. They take a key from a corpse's pocket and advance inside. They find a young woman who looks like Becky for a second. It isn't her. It is another prisoner whom they free before moving on. More of Vlad's men arrive with smoke grenades and automatic weapons. The corridors fill with gray curtains that blur shapes. Andrew and Monica retreat while firing, while Samson, from another position, throws explosives and disperses the attackers. The cameras above see it all. From the control room, Vlad watches his men fall. He calls Andrew and proposes an exchange. If they hand over the girl they have, he will release Becky. It is another trap, they know it, but there are no clean options. They accept with fear biting at their backs. On the ground, the exchange takes place with measured steps and broken gazes. The tension hangs by a thread that could snap with a spark. Vlad orders his men to shoot Andrew and Monica as soon as the trade is done. The shots are fired, but Samson stops them with precision from a distance. Chaos ensues, and special forces surround the zone, alerted by the noise. The exit closes on all flanks. In the midst of the tumult, the girl who had been posing as Becky pulls a gun, aims at Vlad, and shoots him in the head, cutting off the chain of command instantly. The tyranny ends in a second that remains suspended in the room. The prisoners, one by one, are released in the whirlwind of sirens. The next day, Samson and his son say goodbye to the Faden family. There is relief, fatigue, and a calm that barely covers the scars. The city returns to its rhythm, but tunnels still pulse beneath it. What comes next no longer depends solely on them. Elsewhere, in a church, Stellu enters slowly and kneels in the confessional. He says he wants to confess, that he needs forgiveness for what he has done. The voice that answers is not the priest's, it is Samson. He states that perhaps God will forgive his sins, but he won't.